Hi and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave and this is episode 1439B and today's date is December 4th, 2017 and the title of the episode is The Neocons Cabal Give a Little Push to Get an Event Started. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, over the many years we've been talking about Obamacare and how bad Obamacare is. And we're starting to see signs that people can't even afford Obamacare. Let me give you an example. We see that there's this individual, he's 38 years old. He's from Charlottesville. He's a husband and father, and he has a 3 and a 1-year-old. And he used to pay $900 a month for health insurance for his family of 4. Now, since there were changes in the Charlottesville insurance market because of Obamacare, that same exact plan is now $3,000 a month or $36,000 a year. So before, he was paying $900 a month, and now it's $3,000 a month. And he rolled in Obamacare, and there's a $9,200 deductible. Now, this is the second cheapest option. It's a $9,200 deductible, which means he has to hit $9,200 before the insurance pays anything. And he has to do it within a year. So he's going to pay $3,000 every single month, $36,000, plus $9,200, $45,000. And the insurance will not pay anything until he gets over the $45,000 mark, because he has to hit the $9,200. This is how out of whack it is. This is how the government doesn't even realize that people are having major problems making ends meet. And of course, if they have to pay for health insurance, guess what? They're not going to go purchase items out in retail. It's impossible to do it all. And those people who don't have jobs, and those people who have part-time jobs, and those people who have lower paying jobs, well, it's very difficult. And many people saying, something, I'm just going to opt out because the tax penalty is cheaper. And I know in the tax bill, it was supposed to be included where this tax penalty is taken away. Now, we'll have to wait to see how that works out. But we see right now that Obamacare is a disaster. And the only way the government would actually know that it was a disaster is if every single person in government had to have Obamacare and they had to pay for it themselves. Then they would realize what a problem it really was. But they decided to exempt themselves and keep what they had. Of course they did, because that was the better option. Because, you low serfs, you'll take this insurance. We have incredible insurance. We see that Russia and Egypt, they came to an agreement, and they're going to allow each other's airspace and air bases to be used. Now, the draft deal was set out in a decree signed by Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev on November 28th, which instructed the Russian Defense Ministry to hold negotiations with Egyptian officials and to sign the document. Now, the Egyptian airports would allow Russian military aircraft to refuel on their way to Syria. The agreement concerns a supplementary logistics hub, which might help Russian aircraft act in a free manner in the Syrian theater when needed. Now, we see right now that Libya also wants to make deals with Russia. They want Moscow to play a special role in their country. They want to help to bring peace, and they want Russia to do this not with the UN-backed government, which the United States and the coalition forces set up. They want Russia to deal with General Haftar, which is very interesting, and we can see that the Libyan people remember what NATO did back in 2011, and they don't trust the West anymore. We see out in Yemen, the Saudis are having a huge amount of trouble there, and it looks like the war might be coming to an end. We see the Houthi rebels. They've taken over the Yemen capital. They killed the ex-president, Salih, and what we're seeing right now is that the puppet government that was installed there is now removed, and the people are taking over the country. And we see this throughout the Middle East. I mean, we're seeing it in Yemen right now. We're seeing it in Lebanon. We're seeing it in Libya. We're seeing it in Syria, Sudan, Somalia, Iraq. And all of these countries are saying enough is enough. We don't want the U.S. here. We want the Islamic State beaten. Once they're beaten, we want the United States out of our countries. And most likely, they're going to make deals with Russia and China and trade outside the dollar. Many of these countries are making military deals to purchase the Su missile systems. I believe Egypt is doing this. Iran has done this. Syria already has the Su missile system there. And we see Egypt has also made the deal. Saudi Arabia is making a deal. Now you have to think to yourself, why are they purchasing Russian missile systems? Well, first of all, they're superior. Second of all, if they move away from the U.S. and they decide to deal in the petro-yuan, the petro-ruble, gold, or maybe a cryptocurrency, they need protection. And you're not going to purchase the missile system from the U.S. to guard against a U.S. force invading the country because they're not doing what the Cabal wants. They're going to purchase the missile system from another country, a superior missile system. And this is what all these countries are doing right now because they understand that they need to protect themselves when they start using other currencies to sell their oil. And it looks like this is what's happening right now. We see out in North Korea, it looks like it's the world's largest ever military drill in this area. There's about 16,000 troops, 230 jets to simulate war with North Korea. Do you think the Cabal is out there and they're trying to provoke North Korea into doing something? Now, of course, North Korea is looking at this and they're saying that, this is going to mean war. And of course, they're just playing it up with words. And they're trying to make it seem like they're going to be doing something, but they're not. North Korea is developing their nuclear weapons. They want to be noticed. They want to be recognized as a nuclear state. They want to show the world that you can't invade. And they're just going to play along with what the Cabal is doing right now because it's meaningless to them. They know they're not going to invade right now because they do have a nuclear weapon. So they're not going to do anything unless there's an event and they can get the world together to go in and do something. But is the U.S. going to do something on its own? Absolutely not. I don't believe Russia and China is going to allow this. Russia, China, the U.S., they know that the Cabal would love to go into North Korea, have regime change, but I think there's other plans that they're working on right now where they're going to allow North Korea to become a nuclear state. Now, of course, the Cabal, the Neocons, they're giving a little bit of a push to try to get war started. Senator Lindsey Graham, a neocon who was out in Ukraine with McCain, saying this is the year of the offensive. We're going to go after southeastern part of Ukraine. We're going to go after Crimea. We're going to take it all back. Well, he was out there and he was stoking the flame, trying to push the idea that we could have a war with North Korea. Now, we also see other individuals saying the same exact thing, where war could break out any day, which means that in any day from this point on, we can have an event which is created by the Cabal, which they could try to bring us into war. That's what they're really trying to say. And Graham then urged American dependents should no longer be sent to South Korea. We should be evacuating Americans in South Korea because this crazy lunatic in North Korea, he could be attacking at any moment. It's not going to happen. This is their push to try to get everyone believing that North Korea is going to be invading other countries, which would be absolutely ridiculous at this point in time. We see the U.S. intelligence chief promised the Syrian Democratic Forces a corridor to the Mediterranean Sea. And we know that the intelligence agencies work with the Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, the Syrian Democratic Forces, the moderate rebels, and all the other different paid mercenaries that they have in Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Libya, and throughout all the Middle Eastern countries. And we know that they're trying to protect them because they can use them later on for something else. But Putin is out there, and he is saying that nearly all of Syria's territories are liberated from terrorists. They're doing a little bit of a mop-up operation, and what he's saying right now is that Russia is going to help restore shrines. They're going to rebuild the infrastructure with the help of China, and this is going to be starting very, very soon. So this tells us that the Cabal is pretty much finished in Syria. They're getting nowhere in North Korea, and once again, the only thing they have left is this ridiculous thing with Flynn, which is going to be going nowhere. I know they're trying to make it a really big deal, and I see the corporate media out there discussing it, trying to say, oh, this could happen, that could happen, the Logan Act. Nothing is going to happen because they have not. If they really had something, Mueller would have presented it already. That's what the indictment would have been about. It wouldn't have been about lying to the FBI. This is how you know they have nothing. This is how you know they're stuck. And just to put something else on top of all of this, the U.S. Supreme Court, well, it said Trump's travel ban, targeting people from 6 of the Muslim-majority countries, well, it goes into full effect. And it overruled the lower courts. And we see right now that Iran, Libya, Syria, Yemen, Somalia, and Chad, well, they're all part of this. Now, is it right? Is it wrong? The president has the right to do this, and we see that the establishment, the Cabal, well, they were trying to stop this. Now, Trump did make a case saying, listen, if we have all these terrorists coming from these countries, we should do better screening, which makes sense. And then, of course, the Cabal, the establishment, Neocons, they try to, they try to backstep here, and they try to explain, no, you shouldn't be doing this. People have the right to come. Yes, people have the right to come into the United States. People have the right to come into the United States for a better life. Of course they do. But people need to be vetted. Are they criminals? Are they terrorists? Are they dealers in drugs? I mean, these individuals we don't want in this country. Are they rapists? So yes, there needs to be some type of vetting process. I mean, Obama was just taking illegals that jumped over the border, putting them on a bus. There was no vetting, sending them off to sanctuary cities, giving them working papers, and saying, good luck. I mean, look what happened in Europe, where they just let everyone in. There was crime and everything going on. And just like with your home, do you have your front door wide open? And do you just let anyone into your house? Or do you vet them each and every time? Someone rings the doorbell, knocks on the door, you say, who is it? Well, you just vetted it. Please prove who you are. You look through your peephole if you have one. You open the door a little bit of a crack to see who it is. You're vetting right now. The same thing goes with our borders. We need to know who's coming in here. And if everything is on the up and up, guess what? Come on in. And we could see that the Cabal, the establishment, they didn't want this because they needed to blend all the countries together. They needed more bodies in the country to take the low-level jobs, to push GDP up. Because what they were trying to do, and we explained this before, is they thought the TPP was going to pass, and they were going to bring the United States down to the level of every other country, because they can't bring the other countries up to the level of the United States. So the United States had to come down to that level, which means the third world workers, they'd be able to go to any country, and guess what? They'd be able to get the same exact pay as where they were. They wouldn't get better pay here. The pay would get lowered here. And they thought, well, if we bring in all these people, flood them throughout Europe, this would make it easier because we'd have people to take these jobs. And this is what they were planning on. And they were planning on a one world government where everyone would be the same. There'd be no separation. There'd be no, there wouldn't be different countries. There wouldn't be a France. There wouldn't be a Spain. It would be all blended together. And there'd be one government controlling it all. This is what they thought they were going to do. That has all come to an end. Everything that they planned has come to an end. And this is where the scary part comes in. Because they're running out of bullets. They have nothing left. Which means they're going to resort to something huge. When they want something bad enough, think about it. They wanted to go into the Middle East. They wanted to go into Afghanistan. They wanted to go into Libya, Lebanon, Iraq, and all the rest of the countries. They brought down the World Trade Center to do this. What do you think they're going to do next to reach their goal if they see it's not working? If they want to get us into war, if they want to show that another country, another group destroyed our economic system, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to do something bigger. They're going to do something scarier than they did before. And when they become desperate enough and they need to hide everything that they've done, well, this is what they're going to do. And this is why we talked about cyber attacks. This is why we talked about them bringing down the financial system. This is why we talked about physical attacks. And it looks like we're getting closer and closer to this point because we can see that their time is done in the Middle East, which means the petrodollar, well, that's under threat right now. It's been under threat for a very long time, but we can see that things are going to rapidly change in the Middle East. They're already changing. We see the threat of North Korea. That's going to go away unless they do something. And they're running out of time. Putin just announced that Syria is pretty much liberated. Time is ticking down. They don't have that much time left. Be prepared, get ready, because it looks like they're going to be pushing the next event. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.